jump right into it?
Hi, I'm Randi Deckard. I'm SVP of Client Engagement with Bessler over sales marketing and customer success, and I'm ready to get spicy with Mac.
You ready to jump into the first wing?
Absolutely.
It's this one. It's the warm intro. So it's a good
intro.
Yeah, it's a good.
All right.
Not too spicy, and you can bite as much as you want, as little as you want.
All right. Well, it's good.
Yeah, we're starting you off easy. Don't worry. All right, first question for you.
All right.
You recently said that you think you're the best sales tool.
Absolutely.
Love that. What's one sales tool you can't live without, and why? And what's one sales tool that is very popular that you think is maybe not really worth it?
Yeah, so the one tool beside myself I can't live without right now is shout out to my pals at Scratchpad. Leading a team, I need them to be super efficient. And honestly, last year they said, if you take this away from us, we're revolting. So efficiency and productivity, and it makes everyone's job easier. Like I said, we can't live without it. The one tool that we have in our tech stack that we reevaluated and we actually let go of was Paperflight. It just didn't work for us. So you need to continually evaluate
sales tools, all of it, right? It's a never ending, never evolving.
And as a sales leader, things change so rapidly. But just because the newest thing comes out, I don't want to overwhelm my team.
Yeah. All right. Wing number 2, okay. Question number 2. This is the Cayenne cold call.
Cayenne cold call.
Also good, not too crazy.
Cold call is how I got my start in sales.
It's a little hotter than most cold calls tend to be. But speaking of cold calls, a lot of people right now talk about the SDR function. Is it going to be here in 5 years? Is it not? What do you think? Is it going to be here? Is it going to evolve?
I think it's going to evolve. I don't think cold calling is dead. Honestly, I think it's more timing, getting the right person and the right messaging. So it's about having the right intent. So when you make that cold call, you know that's something they're looking for. So I think that's how it'll evolve.
Do you think it's still on the back of an SDR, or is it more evolving towards like the full sales cycle? Who owns the full sales cycle? Who owns the whole?
I think it's going to be a whole sales cycle because AI, let's face it, AI is coming. It's not just coming; it's here and now. It's just how we're going to use it. So things that can be automated, I just don't see that unless you can really upskill them and have them doing other functions. It's going to be full sales cycle, and it's iterative training. There was a stat, like people forget, like I can't remember how many hours after you get something new. First off, you only retain 20%, and then you forget the rest after 7 hours. Yeah. So it's like,
That's one thing I was told, is like, as a founder and a leader, is like, you'll say it and it makes sense in your head, but you got to say it again and again and again. People don't remember things. Right. There's a lot of information, TikTok and stuff just being bounced at us constantly.
Right. So iterative training is 100%. Yeah.
All right. Speaking of SDRs, this is SDR tiers.
SDR tiers.
No SDRs were harmed.
No
in the making
SDRs
of
were
this
harmed.
Sauce, I promise.
Or chewed.
All right.
That's tasty.
That one's sweet. It has a little slow burn to it.
Mm-hmm.
All right. What's a sales tactic that you were a staunch believer in 10 years ago that you are not anymore? And what's a tactic that a lot of people use right now that you think won't be a thing in a few years?
I'm ashamed to admit, product feature, check my 20-page deck. Sales is a conversation, meeting the customer where they're at. And honestly, I'm a huge fan of tech tour and really being adaptive. So like say you and I were in a call, we're having a conversation and you're like, oh, but I'm really interested to see. Pulling up and showing them that. Have you ever, I actually wanted to buy a Salesforce license. They made me go through everything. I'm like, I just want to buy it.
Please take my money.
Yes.
Why are you making this so hard?
Don't make it so hard, right? Yeah. So, definitely.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people are talking about how salespeople get in their own way more than the buyer does.
So meet the customer where they're at. So I, as a salesperson, show me how it works. I want to understand how it works. I don't need a product person on the call. I can run it, but I call it a tech tour. Oh, you want to see that? Well, this is how and tell a story.
Yeah.
This is how
storytelling is deeply underrated.
Yes. You got to be a master storyteller, and that's what really helps the customer see themselves using this and having success. The hero of their own story.
Yep. Ready for number 4?
We're ready for number 4.
This is the ghosted pepper.
The ghost pepper.
We are going to ramp it up here a little bit.
Ooh!
This is where it might get a little more serious. Let it sit.
Back of the throat. Good. Okay.
The more you talk, the more you'll feel it a bit. But You train for this a little bit, maybe seriously, maybe
The
little bit as a
habanero Reaper sauce.
whose name we won't repeat.
Name I won't
But-
repeat.
One day, maybe. So, like, training is important. We talked about that. Where do you think most sales enablement and training programs fail right now?
They do it once. It's kind of what we already said.
Yeah.
It's iterative. It's iterative training, and you can't throw too much at one person. I'm always about 1% with my team, so getting 1% better. So we'll focus on things, and literally, I do it in 30-day cycles. So one moment was like, let's talk about, referrals. The next month, let's talk about X. And it's based on where I see the team isn't doing something. It's because I want the whole team to raise up. So there's individual coaching, and then there's how can you actually, as a team, get better.
Yeah.
And then, of course, gamify it. That helps.
Gamification is deeply
I
underrated.
know. I'm always, that's part of our competitive nature, but in a fun, collaborative way where we learn together.
Are there any like secret tricks? Someone who's like trying to build a sales enablement program right now, someone who's a first-time manager, like single piece of advice to like make sure their team is actually set up for success. Like tactically.
If you can't do it yourself, how can you teach your team?
Yeah.
So I am on the call, like I, as a leader, still make calls
Yeah.
and do things myself and share those calls with my team. And I'm like, score me. Because if
Yeah.
I can't do it, how can I
If you're not
teach you?
open to learning, how
Yep.
can you expect your
Yeah.
team to be open
And I'm
to
always
learning?
investing in myself so I can teach and coach them.
Hey, stuff's changing, as we mentioned, right?
Oh my gosh.
if you're not staying on top of what's new, how is your team?
Yeah, and that's the beauty of this profession is that once again, you have to treat it like that and educate yourself so you can make your team better.
The
I'm
fifth
ready.
one,
Let's do
it
it.
goes from like simple plastic black caps to the red wax. It's a little more aggressive.
Ooh, the red
This
wax.
is the
It's a fine vintage.
yeah, exactly. It's the age. It's the lost lead.
Okay.
So it's
Cheers.
then this one's proper.
Sometimes it's as hot as the other one.
This one's a very slow burn.
Okay.
So far in my experience, you'll feel this one more in the back of your throat.
Oh, it's actually seemed easier, but
Yeah.
I'll believe you.
All right, we'll see. We'll see as it goes on. Maybe it's a bad batch. Who knows? All right, open-ended question for the last one. What's your like spiciest take about sales right now? Something that like maybe you wouldn't want to post publicly on LinkedIn.
Well, this is being recorded, so
Yeah,
I know
so,
it's gonna
like,
be
There's always going to be an element there. But
So people make it too complicated. Sales is just a conversation. Be customer obsessed. If you can, walk a day in the customer's shoes, talk to customers. Never forget you're talking to a human. And like I said, sometimes we just make it too complicated. We get in our own heads. And yes, frameworks are the guardrails for how you operate. But if you bring your authentic self as a person, people relate to that.
sales
and-
leaders have so much expectation of process because that's what they can measure. And that's results speak for
And what are
themselves.
people good at? How can you play to that strength? Where there's something they're not at good, how do you coach them to improve on that? And that's why our the 1%. But it's like I said, sometimes I think we overcomplicate. And honestly, sales is psychology. And so as a coach, like I feel like I'm a parent, like I'm a mom to all these kids, like, because they get in their heads, like, and I believe they can do it. Sometimes they get nervous or imposter syndrome, whatever, even though they're really good at it.
Too much of it is
You
like
don't
one
want
size
robots.
fits all.
You don't want
Here's
robots.
the script. Might as well
Yes.
just replace them with AI
Yes.
if that's what you're gonna do.
Number
All right.
6.
What'd you think? You want?
Well, that's good.
She wants to do number 6. You didn't think it was that bad, did you?
I didn't. Preparation.
This is 1.2 million scoville units. This one, supposedly.
Woo!
So
Okay.
I don't have a final question for you. This is just enjoy.
Okay. Cheers.
See you on the other side.
Okay, I'm waiting for it to hit.
I don't know if that's worse. Than
I think preparation helps.
living proof that enablement and training works.
Cheers.
Cheers.